Before I show you the drum editor, I'm going to remind you of the edit history. I'm going to come under edit here and choose the history because I've made some edits to this particular project that I don't want to save. I do want to save the quantization that I performed first, but I'm going to drag this line up to past all of the other edits that I've performed and just leave it on quantize. That'll get me back to the original idea I had for this project. And the drum editor is a different version of a MIDI editor. For example, on this drum track, we're actually looking at MIDI notes, but we have things like the note length, which most drum programs don't use, and we don't really know what note is what instrument on the drum set, and that's where the drum editor comes in. If I come to this track and then go over to the Inspector tab and come to the name of the preset here in the top tab. If you don't see those settings, make sure it's the top tab that you have available. And then I'm going to find that drum program. Underneath that, you'll notice that in a grayed out state, it says no drum map. But since the drums that I'm using in this project are Steinberg-based drums, then I can click on that and choose either a general MIDI map, if that's the kind of map that your instrument is using, or I'm going to create a drum map from the instrument. Steinberg instruments will do this for you, but other third-party VST instruments that you might have installed on your computer for drums won't necessarily work properly with this command. But since it's a Steinberg VST instrument, I can create a drum map. And now when I come to these events, you'll notice that they look different. Instead of having those long lines, we're actually seeing little tiny dots. And now when I double click on an event, the editor looks very different. Instead of having a keyboard relationship here on the left-hand side, I'm now seeing the names of the individual drums. So here's a crash cymbal, which in the standard note editor, I would only be able to relate to its MIDI pitch, which doesn't tell me the instrument, but in the drum editor it does. So if I click that note, I can hear that it's a crash cymbal. And here are hi-hats, the open hi-hats. And if I scroll up here, I'll see those closed hi-hat events. Now you can move those notes around the exact same way as you can in the MIDI editor, but since they've turned into these diamond-shaped icons, it means that you don't have to worry about the note lengths anymore. Because like I say, most drum instruments don't deal with MIDI note length. It doesn't matter to them as long as there's a note on event. But here you could move those MIDI notes around the exact same way on your drum tracks. And since it is a track setting, you won't have to do that to all the different lanes. You see how all of the events on that one track in the lanes still shows drum data now? So it's a track assignment, not an event assignment. And next I'll show you editing MIDI control data.